Growing up, I was always told that if you put in the work, you could achieve your dreams. I am the proud daughter of a Cuban immigrant family, a father who came here at the young age of 4, along with his sister and his mother. My mom, just a few years earlier, came with her family here. They came for the same reasons, in order to escape a dictatorship regime, in hopes of a better and more prospering life. That quest was definitely not easy. When they first got here, they had very little money to their name. They did not speak the language, and my grandmother was forced to take multiple low-paying jobs just to make ends meet. She always reassured my parents that this would not be your future. You will not give up. So with that in mind, my parents went on to achieve greatness, or the American dream as I see it. I have them here with me today, and they constantly inspire me. They were the first ones in their family to graduate from the University of Miami, and after that, they didn't stop there. My father went on to obtain not 1, but 2 master's degrees, and my mother was accepted into an Ivy League law school, Columbia University. I've still yet to reach those feats, and I hope that one day I can make them just as proud as they've made me. The words giving up were never a part of the vocabulary. And when it came time for me to graduate, I had to decide what I wanted to do. Not interested in my business classes and finances, I had to look within and see what my true values were, and that was helping others. I wanted to be a resource, going back into my community and help students like my parents who needed just an extra bit of a push. So that's what led me to apply for Teach for America. I saw the application, I interviewed, and on the morning of my 22nd birthday, I was accepted as a Teach for America Corps member in Miami-Dade. I was able to move home. Thrilled, I called my parents, thinking that they would be just as excited. That wasn't exactly the reaction I received. Understandably so, their young baby girl was now about to step foot into one of the most dangerous and impoverished areas of Miami. I had never set foot in a public school system, growing up always attending Catholic private school, so I myself was unprepared for what I would see. But I knew that I had made a commitment. Another thing that I want to keep in mind is just how close we are to my placement school. Right now is a MapQuest picture. The first location is where we're situated right now, in the Shalala Student Center. The second one on top there is my placement school, Liberty City, which is located in the heart of Miami. As you can see, and I did use MapQuest, that it's only 21 minutes away, 12.1 miles. That's a lot shorter than most people's commute to work on a daily basis. Yet, I had never ventured to that area, because I was always warned, you don't go there, and you don't go there after night. This area has been plagued with a lot of negative connotation due to its high crime rates. Even more striking to me was its proximity to the major tourist spots here in Miami that people go to most of the time. As you can see, there's Liberty City right about there, Coral Gables is there, and you have downtown, which is sharing a border, along with Miami Beach. So why is it that I and many of my friends had never gone to this area? But I decided this is what I wanted to do. I had made a commitment. As you can see here, that's me being pointed to. This was a picture that was taken at our annual Christmas party that we had. As you might notice, I look a little bit different than most of the other educators that you see there. I was one of 3 light-skinned teachers. And although my name is Mrs. Sanchez, which is arguably one of the most common Hispanic last names you might find, teachers made sure to give me funny looks. They didn't trust that I would be prepared to teach in this environment. And I can see them whispering to one another saying, how long do you think this one will last? But I did the best I could to try to block out those negative thoughts that I had, and I had to remind myself of why I was here. So, in order to do that, I had to focus on my children, and to know my students, I needed to know where they came from. Right here is PSU. This is where they live. They walk to school every single day. Come rain or shine, they will be there. These are just some of the areas around, and although volunteers have tried tremendously hard to make sure to beautify the area as much as possible with lively colors and words of encouragement, students would not describe it as a safe haven. For many of them, it might be a living hell. But more than that, I wanted to change that perception. To PSU, for them, as I saw engraved in many of the wooden desks, it stood for Please Save Us. So I knew I had a responsibility to do this very thing. Here I am trying to fit in with many of my students, as you can see with my many faces. I'm right there in the middle, and this is just some of them. Although we did have some differences in how we may have looked on the outside, we also contained a lot of similarities. We had a love for dance and hip hop and a complete obsession with hot Cheeto fries, flaming Cheeto fries. So after school sometimes, they'd be able to sneak me a bag and give it to me. But they were also middle schoolers, and many people told me, you're absolutely crazy to choose this group. These students are very vulnerable at this time. Their bodies are changing, their personalities are undergoing a lot of stress, a lot of cyberbullying is happening. But I wanted this group. I wanted this group because I felt that they were young enough that I would be able to inspire them and hopefully encourage them to complete their educational degrees, yet mature enough to understand the negative consequences that they would inevitably face if they chose a different path. They refer to me as Miss Sanchez, the teacher with the long, silky hair. The student demographic here at Charles R. Drew is 99% African American. The majority of my students are eligible for free and reduced lunch and live off of food stamps. It wasn't uncommon for some of my students to come to me after a long day and say, Miss Sanchez, do you happen to have any extra food? Or I would see a student come in with a backpack that was falling apart, and I would ask, do you have another one? And they would say, my parents can't afford it. Or clothes that were too tight on them because they had to share with their multiple siblings. Another thing I noticed when my students started to sit within my desks is that they were a little bit older than I had suspected. Teaching 6th and 7th graders, they should usually be around the ages of 12 and 13. Yet I saw that a lot of them were actually 14 and 15. So I knew that I had to do some research. And as you can see here, in the state of Florida, children between the ages of 6 and 16 must attend full-time school until they graduate. But for my 14 and 15-year-olds, that meant that time was running out. Within a couple of years, they had the choice to drop out of school. Even more so, I was made very aware of the school-to-prison pipeline. For those of you that don't know what that is, it is defined right here. It's a disturbing national trend wherein children are funneled out of the public school systems into juvenile and criminal justice systems. One thing to highlight is that it targets specific student demographics, especially those with learning disabilities or histories of poverty, abuse, or neglect. Those were my students. And due to these zero-tolerance policies in schools, it wasn't uncommon for a student to bring a pair of scissors to school and someone interpret it as a weapon, handcuffing them and taking them out of the school system. With all of this knowledge that I have obtained, I knew that my students would not become one of these statistics. As an English teacher, I tried to find ways in which I can allow them to express their feelings, their concerns, their angers in a very therapeutic way. So I stumbled upon a poem contest. The poem contest was called The World as I See It. And that's all you had to do. The students just had to answer about the perceptions of the world around them and their environments. In order to prepare them for this, I showed them some of the past winners. Here's one right here. Now I won't read the entire thing, but I will focus on that last stanza there, where the person describes, the salad bowl of life is filled with many colors and tastes. Let's use the world's resources and make it a better place. As you can see, it has a nice ring to it, and I thought, wow, they have a really good English teacher. They thought of life as many different bubbling personalities coming together to make something great. And after sharing my stories with my students and my grandparents and my parents and overcoming many obstacles and challenges, I was sure that they were up to the task. Specifically, one of my students that I have featured here. His name is Jakari Lightsey. If you were to go to Jakari and ask him, Jakari, how would you describe yourself? He would use the word industrious. He was often seen going around campus with a custom-made sweater that read, Jakari is my name, education is my game. And even here, as you can see, I am King Kari. And that's how he viewed himself. And because of this reason and the confidence that he exuded, I always told him to go to his male peers and encourage them to stay in school and stay out of trouble. Because this is something that I knew. That there are about 1.5 million prime-age black men in America who are missing from society today. That's because they're either 6 feet underground or behind bars. Many of the students in my classroom, the males, when I would look around, I had this sickening feeling knowing that I would never see them again, or that they would never reach my age. But after I told Jakari about this assignment, he was extremely thrilled. He was excited. And then when he came to me, this is what he had written.
My name is Jakari Alison, and I'm reciting the world as I see it now. The world as I see it now is much of a terrorist place. Mostly it's so scary, it makes you want to hide your face. 9/11 just passed, our people got killed because of hate. It's crazy how an 8-year-old died right in front of her father's face. I don't understand all the criminal activity going on. People commit crimes when they know right from wrong. I just have to do the right things and remain strong. This world is so wild, like unrestrained alligators. These criminal minds rely on adults and teenagers. To stop the violence, these people really need a savior. This shows that these guys can take control of their behavior. I see why the little ones are screaming stranger danger. Nowadays, people just want to be rule breakers. As you can see, we're killing people of our own nature. It's so insane how we just kill one another. Marlon was 10 and killed in front of his grandmother. When the truth comes through one ear, it leads through the other. We take away each other, but we're supposed to be a brotherhood. Little King Carter couldn't see us for a childhood. Down in Liberty City, there are such strict neighborhoods. Sometimes I don't even want to open the doors. People are kidnapping, killing, and even robbing the stores. These people need some help or personal mentors. Once you hear those shots, people are on the floor. It's like now it's much crazier than it was before. I keep hearing about these foolish games going to war. The pressure of these deaths, these guys keep crying. These people really need to cut the foolishness. You're killing kids. Why are you doing this? Pick the Bibles up, guns down, and stop the violence.
As you can imagine, I was completely in shock. I couldn't fathom that one of my students had such a drastically contrasting perception than what I had of Miami. And if you don't believe me, all you have to go is on Google and type in Miami, Florida. These are just some of the pictures that you will see. Sandy beaches, lavish hotels, yachts, art district, and fashion. There's a whole other side of Miami that is yet to be discovered. Now, this story isn't meant to sadden you. It's actually meant to do quite the opposite. It's meant to educate you about what's going on in our community. Here's Jakari, and this is him actually on the University of Miami's campus. And he's now elevating his voice and telling his stories more and more around Miami. This couldn't have been done without the hard work and determination of some of the teachers that we have here. This is one of my best friends and co-workers, Maisha Bryant, who is still teaching there today. And on her weekends, she's taking students to magnet auditions so that they can get their names out there. They started the very first college tour, the only one for 8th graders, so that they can actually step foot in a college campus and visualize what might actually be their future. Our school went from an F school, I'm so excited, it's a B school, a failing school, and within 3 years alone, it ended up being the only B school in the entire urban core. Now, these are my students here, and they are more than just a statistic. There's a face, and they have a story. And I hope that through this talk, you're inspired to go out of your comfort zone like I did. Venture those 12.1 miles. I can assure you that it's extremely worth it. And letting them know that they are worth and deserving of a quality education. No student of ours should ever be left behind.